Project Hail Mary is a new sci-fi film starring Ryan Gosling, Sandra and Lionel Boyce. It is directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the acclaimed directors of the Spider-Verse films. This film is based on a Andy Weir novel, who is also the writer of the critically acclaimed The Martian, and this film follows Gosling as he attempts to embark on a mission to stop the Earth's sun from dying, and in doing so he meets an alien who is doing a likewise job, and they form a unlikely companionship in the middle of space. Now, this film is one of the most anticipated films of 2026, most notably because it is Gosling's return to the big screen following 2024's The Fall Guy, and also because the directors are so highly renowned, as well as the fact that the book is critically acclaimed and is a bestseller. In short, this film has had every advantage to be successful, and therefore it is slapped with a $200 million budget. This is a massive blockbuster in the most traditional sense, and it is one that, in my opinion, pays off pretty well. This is by no means a perfect film, but if you are going to the cinema, particularly for spectacle, then this is the film that I think you should watch in 2026, the Odyssey withstanding. So Project Hail Mary is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful films that I think I've ever seen. The cinematographer is Greg Fraser. In comparison with some of his other films, such as Dune Part 2, The Creator, The Batman, so on and so forth, I find his work on this film quite different. In those films, the camera is quite static and a lot of focus is placed on the image and the color composition. In this film, the camera is insanely dynamic. It is constantly moving. It is constantly framing certain aspects of this film in a slant where the camera is upside down, maybe it's on its side, it is then reframing and it is moving to show you the frame in a typical vertical sense. It is unbelievable what Greg Fraser is doing with this camera, combined in moments with the color composition, with the ability to have the camera lay flat and to show you things on the screen that are simply unbelievable. There is one moment in this film where I was looking at something and going, wow, this is really, really special. And then within 30 seconds, the film ups the ante to such a degree I could not believe they had managed to top themselves. And I think that the spectacle of this film is unbelievable. It is out of this world. You simply don't get blockbuster sci-fi space films that focus so heavily on meticulously creating space that it feels real, that it feels like we are not watching a film, we are actually watching a man's mission into outer space to save the entire world. And again, that comes down to Greg Fraser, that comes down to Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, those that worked on the color composition of the film, etc., etc. This film looks unbelievable. Beyond that, I think that the acting of this film is pretty damn good. I think Ryan Gosling is obviously a scene stealer. He is incredible. He is on his A game in this film. I think that his use of humor is an incredible tool that the film uses heavily, and it uses so heavily that I would actually argue that it over relies on it, and in moments it could actually benefit the film to shed its humor and to focus on potentially on trying to be more serious. But it is almost a non-critique to say that, oh well, you've got Ryan Gosling in this film who's very funny, you should try and not be funny. It's kind of nitpicking to suggest that. Ultimately, you have one of the best comedic superstars on the planet. Why would you not use his talents to the best of your ability? So I understand why the film does that. I think they pair Ryan Gosling excellently in this film, particularly with Sandra, who is a German actress of critical renown, has been in some highbrow films over the past few years, most notably The Zone of Interest as well as Anatomy of a Fall. I think that she's an excellent actress. In this film, what she is so good at is bringing a sarcastic, deadpan, German, European sense of humour that is paired so well with Ryan Gosling, because it allows Ryan Gosling's over-the-top, boisterous humour to be paired with a more laid-back, unintentional style of humor. And what I think is a strong likelihood for this film is that a lot of Americans might come away from this film and go, oh, well, I didn't like the German woman because she was so deadpan. I didn't understand when she was joking, yada, yada, yada. Vice versa, I think that a lot of the Europeans might come out of this film and go, oh, I didn't like Ryan Gosling. He was a bit marvelly. He was a bit over the top. I wasn't a big fan of that. But for me, I think that it is a perfect pairing. It is like being a wine snob and coming up with the perfect cheese for your wine. That is what this feels like. They are not the same, they are different, but they are so great paired together. And I think that this is a incredible feat of casting, in my opinion. For me, this is one of the best casting decisions I've seen, to pair these two actors together who are so different in their style, and yet they work so well together. As I said, I don't think that this film is without flaw. I will say that I think that at times the writing feels a bit samey. It can become bogged down in its humor. It can become bogged down in not really trying to explain itself too much, yet also being kind of complex. And I think that the film kind of gets lost in that and doesn't really hold your hand enough for some people. I think that the conclusion of the film I'm not really comfortable with. The film makes some very overt references to where it might be going, just to then in the final 30 seconds pull the rug out from under you, and I'm not really a fan of that, and it feels like a symptom of blockbusterness. I understand it in some sense, I'm just not really comfortable with it. I think it's a pretty poor decision, to be honest. I think it brings the film back quite a bit. I will also say that I think that despite the fact that the film is unparalleled in how it looks, the focus on the character of Rocky, whilst I enjoy the relationship with Ryan Gosling, and I think that the pairing works surprisingly well, because alien pairings with superstars can be kind of murky. Sometimes they don't work as well as it does here. What I will say is that the alien Rocky is really unpleasant and kind of ugly to look at, especially since you spend so much time with the camera focused on this alien. I think it's obtuse. I think it's very jagged edges. I think that is a bit of a disappointment, and I'm quite surprised that actually passed. My assumption is that the character is quite heavily based on the look that is described in the book, but I think that a smarter decision would have been to pretty much change this character entirely. I can understand it. You know, you want maybe the alien to look a bit ugly because this film is all about who can you be a companion with, who are you willing to go out on a limb for. I can understand the decision to make him ugly. It's just not a satisfactory decision in my opinion. But overall, this is a return to classic blockbusters where it is heavily focused on space, it is heavily focused on the spectacle, the camera is moving, it's having fun, there is a message there if you want it, but you don't really need it. You can kind of just look at the film, have a good time, have a few laughs. I enjoy this film a lot. I think it has some flaws, but it is a real blockbuster in an age where we need more of these. It's a shame that this cost $200 million to make, because I think that the film is probably going to struggle to make that back. But this is a very good film. I'm very happy that this is as good as it is, because we are entering the new phase of Ryan Gosling, where he has said or claimed that he is going to make more films like these and less, if not zero, of the films that he previously made, such as Blade Runner, Drive, The Place Beyond the Pines, etc., etc. He's going to make less of those dark and mysterious character pieces, and he's going to make more films like this that are blockbuster, that are easy, and that don't take as much of an effect on him and his family. It's an understandable decision. I don't blame him for that. I can understand wanting to focus on your family, and I think that that's a worthy decision to make. I just wonder about are all the films that are like this going to be successful or not. I think it's a risk, but the first one, in my opinion, is off to a very good start. But thank you for watching. If you like this, please like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you. Bye.